Tory frontbencher has been referred to the Whip's office for watching porn in the House of Commons. Now, when I first saw this headline in The Guardian, my reaction was, so what? An MP watching porn in their parliamentary office. It's a bit embarrassing, but it's not the worst thing in the world. But then I read the details of this story. This is from that article. An investigation has been launched by the government chief whip into reports that a Conservative frontbencher watched pornography on his phone in the Commons chamber. Female Tory MPs met Chris Heaton-Harris on Monday night to complain about sexism in Parliament, with one alleging that a male colleague was watching pornography next to them in the House of Commons. So this was not a Tory MP watching porn in their office, a la Damien Green, you might remember that story. This was someone sitting in the House of Commons chamber, surrounded by MPs, TV cameras rolling, watching porn on his phone. And according to that story, he was on the front bench. He wasn't even sitting at the back. We had all those people behind him watching porn live on BBC Parliament. Like, what is wrong with these people? It's blown me away. This is the copy the Times had. We'll get some more details here. One of those present, a minister, said that she had seen a male MP watching pornography in the Commons chamber. She said she had seen the same MP viewing pornography on his phone during a committee meeting. Another Tory MP said she had witnessed a male colleague watching pornography on his phone. She said she had attempted to take a photo of him doing so, but had been unable to. From this, it makes it seem as if we're talking about a serial offender or more than one MP who watches porn on their phone sitting on the Commons benches. Strangely, Northern Ireland Secretary Conor Burns couldn't bring himself to say what the consequences for any pervy MP should be.
But should the MP be kicked out of the party if it is found and established that they were watching porn in the chamber?
Well, the statement from the Whip's office is the Chief Whip himself is looking into this. It is unacceptable and that action will be taken. I know no more than that, but that seems to be pretty clear that the Chief Whip himself is investigating.
Should the whip be withdrawn? Should the whip be withdrawn from anyone found watching porn in the chamber?
So I'm not even attempt to defend that.
I'm not asking you to defend it, but I'm just asking what action should be taken.
The Chief Whip's job is to establish the facts. And if facts are established, then action should be taken decisively.
Right.
And will be.
But what action is that? I mean, action could range from, being told off, a rap on the wrist, being expelled from the Commons for a certain amount of time. Should they just be kicked out the party?
Well, I trust the Chief Whip to investigate it, establish the facts and take the action. And I don't think that's his job. That's not my job. Discipline is the role of the Chief Whip and the Whip's office.
What a embarrassing, cringeworthy minute of television. Like, that was on the BBC at 1 p.m. today. What is going on? And you have to think, why can't that MP just say, yes, if an MP is found to have watched porn in the Commons chamber, they should be suspended. Like, I can't see you getting away with that in any other workplace, let alone one which is streamed live on TV. The whole thing is on BBC Parliament. Like, it might appear on BBC News. Apparently, you're sitting on the front bench, not even at the back. You're watching porn on your phone. You've got MPs behind you who can see what's on your phone. You're watching porn on your phone. For one thing, you probably should be paying attention. You get paid a decent salary. You've been elected by your constituents to sit in Parliament and listen to what's going on. But more significantly than that, you don't watch porn in public. What is going on? Who are these people? The meeting where the revelations about the porn-watching MP were made sounds like it was pretty heated. It was held by around 50 Tory female MPs, known as the 2022 group. Apparently, at least 12 of them revealed stories of harassment and sexism at the hands of male Tory MPs. The Mirror had these details. One MP recounted how a female colleague in a knee-length leather skirt had been told by a male MP, quote, "That's a nice outfit. What do you do for your day job?" Another claimed that a Tory whip had ushered women MPs into the voting lobbies in recent weeks by instructing, quote, "Come on, girls." This follows a report in the Times which claimed that 56 MPs are being investigated on sexual harassment claims, including 3 cabinet ministers. For his part, Johnson's press secretary today denied that the Tories have a problem with sexism and misogyny, but that doesn't appear to be an especially widely held view. Times Radio's Lucy Fisher tweeted, "A female Tory MP claims that attitudes towards women in the party is worse under Boris Johnson than Theresa May. Quote, no one has to face penalties for unacceptable and even illegal behaviour," the MP says in oblique reference to Partygate. Female Tory MPs claim the Conservative Party operation doubles down on women more than men when trying to curb revolts address issues by undermining or spinning against them. MP says sexism is worsening. Quote, nothing ever changes. In fact, the cases seem to be getting worse. Of course, we shouldn't view Theresa May's premiership with rose-tinted glasses. She was the Prime Minister who restored the whip to the sex offender Charlie Elphicke just to win a key vote on Brexit. But it's also not surprising that under Johnson it would get even worse. After all, this is the man who, on leaving as editor of The Spectator, wrote a column with a bit of advice for his successor. When dealing with Kimberly Quinn, then the publisher of the magazine, the best thing to do, wrote Johnson, was, quote, just pat her on the bottom and send her on her way.
I'm not one to clutch pearls about watching porn. Like you, I didn't think it was that big of a deal when Damian Green watched porn in his office. It's not a great use of your time when you're, on the clock, but it wasn't something that I was going to get morally outraged by. But this is truly obscene. It's obscene, obviously, from a sexual harassment perspective. Back in the day, male-dominated offices would often have things like page 3 posters or other sexualized posters up in the office. There's a reason why that has been specifically defined as a form of sexual harassment and outlawed under equalities legislation, because it makes the workplace a deeply uncomfortable place for women. It compromises the ability of women to feel like they're being taken seriously by their colleagues, etc. So from that angle, it's of course deeply inappropriate. Harassment, indeed, of any kind, whether it's racial harassment, sexual harassment, it doesn't always happen through explicit acts of discrimination or of physical assault or physical harassment. It's also about creating a workplace that is hostile to certain people and sexualizing women, dismissing them, patronizing them, which we've all seen through all of these examples that you've just outlined. That all plays a role in that. And it's, of course, no surprise that a political class that has been reared and marinated in dysfunctional institutions like Eton and Oxbridge, where this kind of stuff gets dismissed as banter or whatever, that they would go on to replicate these kinds of cultures in government. But in this case, it affects us all. This isn't just about individual issues or issues of male banter or the culture of a tiny group of irrelevant people. These are the people who are making decisions that are impacting the lives of women. They are deciding how many women's shelters are funded. They decide how much access single mothers get to childcare or to social security, on whether or not trans women are able to access the healthcare that they need. So the fact that they clearly don't see women as people in the way that they are people who deserve dignity, who deserve to have their needs and opinions taken seriously, that is something that is reflected in the policy that they make and reflected in the kind of worlds that they're creating. And it is something that has deep consequences for all of us. But even if you take away the porn angle, if he was just, scrolling through TikTok or Instagram or watching random videos of animals being friends, to be doing that in the Commons chamber when you're supposed to be actively focusing on your job, when your job has far-reaching impact on people's lives, and to be so dismissive of your work, to be so emboldened of your own power that you can just be in the clear view of everyone around you, just be doing something else, and something that, might I add, is a very consuming task. It beggars belief. You are paid $72,000 a year to make decisions that impact our lives, and this is how you are spending your time. Meanwhile, workers in Amazon warehouses who are being paid 13 quid an hour are being punished for taking too many toilet breaks. That sort of juxtaposition alone tells you the different worlds that working class people and the people who make the rules for working class people live in. Just outrageous to see.
I mean, this MP should probably have been advised to take a few more toilet breaks. That might have kept him out of trouble. What you were saying there actually I realized I'd never really thought about watching porn in public as a sort of sexual harassment in the workplace issue, but it makes total sense that it is. Is it correct to say it's sort of on a spectrum maybe with flashing?
I can't speculate on this man's kinks, on, what turns him on, but he clearly doesn't think of the women that he works with as human beings, as people. He either actively disregards it, or he just doesn't even notice that they exist as full human beings around him. What I would say, as someone who has been on the other end in public spaces of both forms of harassment, of, being flashed in public spaces, and also of having someone deliberately watching sexually explicit things in my vicinity, I can tell you that both of those instances, I still have not returned to either of the places where that happened. One was a particular street and the other was a classroom. I still have not returned to those spaces because I feel so grossed out by what happened, because what it's doing is it's a man telling you that this space that he is in belongs to him and you are going to be in it on his terms. And also what it does is it makes you feel like, I don't know where you're going with this. It's almost like there's a threat embedded in it that, this is the frame of mind that he's in. This is the thing that he's thinking about right now. And this is the thing that he wants you to know that he's looking at. It's like a kind of mind game of embedding threat into public space and making you start to feel very hyper aware of what might or might not happen. And that's why it creates an uncomfortable and dysfunctional place for women to be in. So either he is so ignorant of women and so ignorant of the way that women have to move through this world that he did this and didn't even understand the impact that it would have on other people. I feel like that's unlikely, because I feel like you can't get to an adult age and not know that. Or he was deliberately doing that in order to, as I don't know whether he finds it funny or to get off on it or whatever. The intention doesn't matter. The effect is the same. And the effect is that women that he works with, women that are in the same workplace as him, whether it's other women MPs or whether it's other women working in that workspace for all different reasons, whether, you're a cleaner or you're working in the cafeteria or whatever, it is a way of making the workplace somewhere that you dread going. And that is a form of economic inequality and economic assault for women, as well as being a form of harassment.